thanks for joining us. Coach will open up with a quick statement, and then we'll open up to questions.
Well, it is good to see everybody. It's always a great time of year, headed into spring practice. Just the opportunity to work with these guys on the day-to-day, and really our focus is completely on ourselves, whether we're implementing a new scheme or two. Obviously, each player trying to dive into their craft and get better and improve, compete a little bit. But it's great in regards to, that's what I'm saying, you're focused on yourselves, maybe not an opponent like you are in the fall. I definitely think we're ready for it. These guys did an awesome job in the winter, in the weight room. Keep saying it. Mike McDonald does, and his staff do a phenomenal job with our guys, and guys got bigger, faster, stronger. We kind of ended with what we call the Beaver Combine last week, and that was fun to see those guys go out and test and compete a little bit, and we've got some improvement in a lot of ways, numbers on that end. So it was a great few months, and I know our coaches are excited to get coaching these guys again. We are going to start Thursday, do a couple this week, and then about 4 practices next week, leading into then finals and spring break. So we won't practice then, so they can focus on finishing well in the classroom, and then obviously everybody gets a little bit of break in the spring, and then finish a few weeks in April. We will be using mostly the practice field this first 2 weeks, because you guys can see the progress continuing on completing Research Stadium. I get a front row view of that out my window, and it's just impressive to see those guys work and how much has gotten accomplished already. And so we'll let them keep on working there for a couple weeks, but we will try to get in there in April a little bit to practice and things. Got a couple of new additions to staff that we're really excited about. Anthony Perkins coming over to help out Coach Blue in the secondary, coach our corners. Know a lot of guys that he's worked with, and he's been impressive since he's been here over the last few weeks. I know the guys are excited about working with him and the details on the back end there. Also, Cole Moore coming on as our director of player personnel. Actually, we worked a little bit with Cole when he was just first getting started. We both were at the University of Washington together, spent some time at Montana State, and really, I feel, helped to build a roster over there that you can see the last couple of seasons at Montana State winning a bunch of games. And then most recently here coming from the University of Texas, which we've got a bunch of connections there with coaches and things. So fired up that he's on board, already making a difference here, and just in the short time he's been here. A couple of guys stand out at first look at Dylan Lopez and Damian Martinez. Those will be our 2 freshman scholarship players that will be with us during the spring. Both help us on offense, and so anxious to see those guys get out and about. They've had a great couple of months in the weight room and getting acclimated, but fired up with those guys. Overall, health-wise, I know I might get a question or two on that. We feel pretty healthy. Just like any spring, we're going to try to be really smart with guys, that anything lingering with them, that we might limit them in some fashion. But ultimately, like the quarterback thing, Jebian, Goldbranson, feeling confident those guys will be out there and taking reps and competing. Anxious to see both of them again, because obviously they had some setbacks injury-wise that limited them. But overall, I feel as a roster, the amount of depth we got coming into this spring feels really good. Every position, we've got guys that have played or coming back. Anxious to see some guys that are on the younger side, haven't played as much, to take a step in their game, and they'll get the opportunity to do it in spring practice. So should be competitive, offense versus defense. We will emphasize some special teams. We got really all our specialists that have played returning, with Dylan and Luke, and obviously the kicking situation as well. So, feel good with the depth we've got with all of that. Questions?
Coach, I'll start with another injury question. On the defensive side, Isaac Hodgins and Jaden Robinson, are they going to be good to go?
Both of them in a limited fashion. Jaden will get more than Hodge. Hodge is still working through some things, but he's played a lot of football, and we want to be extra careful and smart that he's full go before he does too much.
And with the schedule, you've got the 2-week break again this year in the middle. Do you kind of prefer to have it that way, or would you rather if you could do a 5 weeks in a row?
I think there's good and bad to both. We looked at it a little bit for not just spring practice, but also the recruiting period after, when's the right time to be finishing, so our coaches can get on the road. I think there is some benefit to get started, get a couple of weeks in, and then everyone can take a deep breath, also digest what we've done in 2 weeks for our coaches to be able to look at it, and then tweak or make some different implement some different things for the final 3 weeks instead of just going 5 straight. We've done it this way a couple of times, and so all of that went into, let's get started. Besides today's weather of getting started, looking at that.
A couple more injury updates. How's Alton Julian coming along in his recovery?
Alton won't be, he's coming along great, but his timeline won't allow him to do a whole lot during spring ball.
And then any update on Addison Gums?
No current update on Addison.
And then just going back to what you mentioned about Anthony Perkins, did you kind of feel like you needed to bring in kind of a new set of eyes to the secondary? And what will kind of be the differences be between Blue's role and Anthony's
Right.
role?
You know, we obviously, once we decided Coach Brey was going to head the defense up, we've had multiple conversations, and you just look at defense and how many DBs play in the game. 5 of them oftentimes felt like an additional help to Coach Blue there. And it's not just the coaching of the play, but you got to recruit that, and obviously the development off campus. There's just a lot of players in the DB room, and so now dividing it up with 2 experts. Coach Blue will still do a lot with the overall secondary, and then Anthony will be able to lock in more on the corners when they separate. And so what that ramifications then gets down to the linebacker position, where Trent adds some more guys into his room, and actually Coach Lange, a couple of those guys will go with Coach Lange. And we just felt like that was the best way to divide it up. And so pursued a secondary corners coach, and really pleased that we were able to land Coach Perkins.
Jonathan, were you looking for Chance to make the biggest leap in his game?
We studied a lot of this over the last couple of months. There's some opportunities to complete a few more deep balls, so our accuracy on the deep throw has been something we've talked about. I think he made a great jump from his first time kind of playing a couple years ago to this last year, and if he can make that same type of jump, we'll feel really good about it. It's not as easy. A guy that gets a little more experience to truly improve, junior, senior year versus how the improvement can take place from freshman to a sophomore, but we're still counting on him taking a huge step in his game. Overall command, actually on the deep ball, and getting more and more comfortable at the line of scrimmage in regards to checking plays and doing things that.
And I know you mentioned the recent renovations, but other than where you will actually be practicing and having that limited, is that something you address with the guys at all in the spring? Is it kind of even pointless to, or is there any point to addressing that, what the season's going to look like there? Or?
Yeah, we won't dive quite to the season, talking about it during spring ball, but they see it outside the player lounge every day too. They got a visual of it, and I think it's another sign of progression where this program's going, the athletic department's going. They're excited about hearing of the amenities, and fan base was excited about it. So it's all positive, but we won't dive into the details of how it'll affect home games in the fall quite yet.
Of this roster, when you look at this roster right now, what position groups give you the most confidence as you enter spring practice?
Yeah, like starting on defense in the secondary, we got a lot of guys that are returning starters. On the back end, there should be some competition to get on the field because we've got 8-9 guys that have more or less been starters, and then when Jaden gets himself healthy again, he'll add into that mix. So I feel we got some real depth there. Inside linebacker again is going to be really competitive. Omar's coming back and been overly productive for us, but you got, Coletto and Easton in there, and Kyrie and John Miller, and what he did on special teams last year, that's going to be competitive. We got depth there. I think at the receiver position again, we did lose a couple of good players from last year with Bradford graduating, but we've got 8 or 9 guys that have played a lot of snaps there at wideout. And so that'll be competitive, and we got depth. Obviously, in the running back thing with BJ leaving, just like college football, you're always going to be replacing guys, but we got a couple backs with Trey and that have played, but we're also anxious to see some of these younger guys go in the spring.
Jonathan, how excited are you to see, and what do you sense Trent Brey, with his hands on the defense? He made a change midway through the year, but now he's had his own chance to really look at it. What are your thoughts about Trent Brey as a D coordinator with this group?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like you mentioned, it was a midseason kind of change, and now he can really put his imprint on making some changes and implementing the style. The schematics aren't dramatically different, but he had some strong opinions on where we wanted to go. I'm not going to dive into all of that, but and watching his energy at practice, and I think him and that defensive staff have been meeting quite a bit, especially those last few weeks, getting ready for spring ball. So, his first opportunity to really dive in and be the coordinator, I'm excited about it.
You may have already answered this with the Addison Gums answer, but if they're on the roster, are they do we assume that they're eligible to play?
Yeah, if they're passing the classes, finals is coming in a couple weeks. But
Right.
yeah, currently, outside of that one, yeah.
And also, is the sample size has there been enough time in with this whole transfer portal thing to figure it out and learn this is how you use it? You've been very successful with it. How do you feel about this at this point in time?
Right. I think each year is going to be different. One is just your roster size. And you got 85 scholarships, and you got to manage those. Well, we've got a lot of guys returning, so that lessen the opportunity to add to your roster that way. So each offseason is going to be different. It's always open in regards to, I think it's great for college athletes in general to be able to choose the opportunities where they want to spend their eligibility, and so it's ever changing. But for this current offseason, we didn't have the type of departure that would allow us to sign a lot out of the portal.
Is there a new level of confidence going into this spring, considering the success you had last year coming up, going to a bowl game? Obviously, it wasn't the result you wanted, but is there a new look kind of approach or confidence in this team going into this spring ball?
I think I'm sure there's added confidence, but we'll remind them, and they're aware that this thing takes a lot of hard work, and each year is new, just like we've been saying in the previous years that each year is new, just because what took place before doesn't guarantee anything. And so, but look, I think if these guys keep working like they did in January, February, diving into now football during March and April, we'll continue to improve, and with the talent and depth we got back, continuity of scheme, feel confident that we can put something special together.
Now that he appears on the roster, what do you think Drew Chatfield can give?
Yeah, hopefully he can affect the quarterback. Did a lot of that during fall when he was just practicing, against that, and so excited for him to be able to get now truly with the defense and running with the ones and twos and get some reps, explosive. Had a good offseason, continued to change his body, so he's one of those guys that, a true opportunity now, and he hopefully can help us affect the quarterback.
I imagine you'll probably hold a pro day here in the next month or so. Do you have an idea of who might participate in that?
We will definitely hold a pro day. I'm probably going to miss a few names, but obviously with Eldridge and Noose and Bradford and Teagan, I'm sure we got a few others. I think it's at the end of this month. The 31st is where we're headed for the pro day.
What was the connection with Coach Perkins? Was there a past relationship?
Well, full story, Dirk Cutter, he worked with them at Tampa Bay Bucks. I've gotten to know Coach Cutter a little bit there. He actually interviewed with us when we hired Blue and did a really good job. But at that time, we felt like Blue was the best fit. And so once this opportunity came, we went right back to him. And, he was what we were looking for.